Leon Panetta seems to be taking a genuine shot at the president's leadership. Do you think he has a point at all there?
Well, I certainly think that there is a point, and I've said it myself, that President Obama has not been a great communicator. His communication shop has failed to get out in front of stories, even on explaining ISIS, but he is slow on communicating his policies, and I think his disapproval ratings have gone up because there's a great gap, for example, on the things people like about Obamacare. He's not been out there communicating that clearly.
All right, folks, that was Lanny Davis, and he joins us now, lawyer, author, crisis manager, and, of course, former longtime special counsel to President Bill Clinton. Hello, Lanny.
Hi, and I'm glad you played the clip because the characterization of what I said by certain conservative media that tries to inflame things is really misstated, and your playing that clip really helps.
Well, who misstated? Who misstated? Exactly Lanny, who misstated
what I didn't say?
Who misstated it, and what did they claim that you said?
Well, the Breitbart headline that I attacked President Obama and made it a kind of a personal attack, or even attack on his policies. But I clearly stated that even his good policies, which I support, he doesn't communicate, is the problem that I said on the Megyn Kelly show. And his shop, which is the staff supporting him, doesn't get out in front of media stories and waits and reacts much too late.
Well, but just the headline said Lanny Davis, Obama press team has failed. Former Clinton administration special counsel Lanny Davis blasted the president's press team because they, quote, failed to get out in front of stories, end quote, on Friday's Kelly file. I mean, isn't that what you said?
No, that's fine. The blasting press team is different than blasting Obama, and I was reacting to a Breitbart story about blasting.
Okay,
Obama,
well, I'm reading the Breitbart headline and story that I have in my hand. But okay, maybe you saw a different one. But
the headline doesn't say blast press team.
Okay, doesn't Obama, though, have ultimate responsibility? You say he's been a bad communicator, so aren't you taking him to task as well as his press team?
Oh, yes, well, for sure. I say that he has very good policies in many respects, including, I said, Obamacare, but he just doesn't do the kind of communication skills that I know he has, and which is very, very hard to understand because he got to be elected president because he was such a brilliant communicator. The example that I don't know if I said it that night, but I will say it to you, is I watched the Ken Burns series on Franklin Roosevelt. And in the middle of the Great Depression, Franklin Roosevelt had fireside chats using radio where he communicated directly with the American people and helped explain to them what they were going through in the Great Depression. And what disappoints me is that this brilliant man who really does have great communicating skills, or he never would have been elected president, hasn't sat down and explained to the American people in the kind of fireside chat that FDR used what's going on with ISIS, who are they, what's the threat, what are we going to do about it, and the same thing with the Ebola scare that so many people are fearful of. We would like our president to talk to us, and that's, it's a form of criticism that's constructive because he really is a good communicator. He just doesn't use the bully pulpit. And that is really what the Roosevelt series that Ken Burns put on television exhibited about both Theodore and Franklin Roosevelt.
But here's a president in Barack Obama where the public doesn't believe him, where he said time after time, if you like your doctor, you can keep it. If you like your health insurance, you can keep it. I mean, that's being called by some the lie of the century, is PolitiFact lie of the year last year, or maybe the decade. I mean, so with that as the context and as the backdrop and as the precedent, I mean, he said on September 16th, the chances of Ebola coming here are extremely low. The CDC has made all the appropriate preparations. That's turned out to be not true. So how could even a fireside type chat, or an Obama fireside type chat, if you will, whatever it would be, how can anybody believe him?
Well, look, there's certain elements of the electorate that convert the word mistake into the word lie. I did not agree when Democrats did that about George Bush saying that there were weapons of mass destruction that led us into a very poor decision to go into Iraq. But that I always believed was sincerely believed by not only George Bush, but by Bill Clinton. So that was a mistake that's different than a lie. And unfortunately, in today's times, the distinction between believing something and turning out to be wrong versus intentionally misleading people, which is what a lie, that distinction is lost in the rhetoric of our polarized climate.
All right, and of course the New York Times today stating that there were chemical weapons in Iraq that have harmed many U.S. soldiers, that it's just coming out today. But that's for another time. Lanny, good talking to you again, sir.
Yes,
I appreciate
very, very
it.
good point. Thank you.
Thank you. Lanny Davis, ladies and gentlemen. And before we go, do you think President Obama is handling the Ebola crisis properly? Go to Newsmax.com/polls and cast your vote right now. Coming up next, Fox News senior political analyst Ed Rollins. Don't go away.